Hi there. Let's chat about inspections that your buyer or seller may find themselves conducting during the process of buying or selling a home. So, the most common inspection is the home inspection. Now, a home inspector that's hired to perform the home inspection by the buyer must be licensed by DPOR, which is the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, which is the same licensing body that is in charge of our licenses as real estate agents. Now, the home inspection is always paid for by the purchaser. And the home inspector will come out, and it'll be about a 3-hour process to go through the home and write up a detailed report, including photos. Now, the home inspection, according to the inspection addendum that's in our standard forms, pertains only to the primary dwelling. So it's going to be important to ask yourself when you're writing the inspection addendum if any additional structures on the property, i.e., retaining walls, detached garages, storage sheds, in-ground pools. If any of those items are going to be part of the home inspection repair request, you're going to need to write those in as an additional inspection because according to our standard form, the home inspection is to the primary dwelling only. Now, the home inspector, while they are there, may also elect to conduct a radon inspection. Radon inspection is another item listed on our inspection addendum. That's an option for the buyer and paid for by the buyer. Now, radon is a natural gas that occurs underground when rock breaks down. It seeps up through foundations and into homes and can cause lung cancer. So, a radon inspection may or may not be on your buyer's list. But what I recommend is since it is a nominal fee to test for it, for my buyers, I recommend that they go ahead and have that inspection conducted because if they discover that radon is above the EPA's recommended level of 4.0, then they can now burden this as a contingency for the seller to satisfy prior to closing rather than making it this buyer's issue and this buyer's expense later when they go to sell the home. Now, a termite inspection is another very common inspection. Oftentimes, people think it's required to close a transaction. Most of these inspections are not required, but they are certainly our best advice to our buyers. So when conducting a termite inspection, a licensed termite inspector will have to perform that duty. That can be paid by the seller or the buyer. But in recent years, I've been recommending that my buyer pay for the termite inspection. That way, if there are any issues post-closing, that buyer was the person who paid for that inspection and can go back to the termite inspector and ask, for them to come back out and take another look. Termite inspection discoveries are also burdened on the seller according to clause 17, which is the repair remediation limit. As well as well and septic inspections. So well and septic inspections are additional inspections that also can be paid for by the seller or the buyer. But with a similar philosophy behind it, I do recommend that my buyers purchase the well and septic inspection as well. I know it causes the buyer some additional expense, but in the long run, I do think it best that they are the purchasers of these inspections since they're the ones who are going to move on to own this property. So additional inspections that you may find that you'd like to have performed, and those would be at the buyer's expense, might perhaps be a camera line inspection, going down the water and sewer lines from the home to the street. Perhaps there's been some tree root intrusion or some collapsed pipes. There's no way of knowing this unless you do a camera line inspection. So I would highly recommend you have that done if the home has a lot of large trees in the front yard or if the home is of a certain age. If it's a brand new construction home, that's probably not an inspection I'm going to recommend, but it should be a conversation you're having with your buyer. Now, other additional structures that you may elect to have inspected and you would need to indicate on the inspection addendum would be perhaps a retaining wall. Perhaps the retaining wall is shifting or moving, or you've seen some movement on it. Perhaps the driveway, the paved driveway has a sunken spot that you're concerned about. None of these are part of the primary dwelling. So you would need to write those in under the additional structures inspection section. They would be at your buyer's expense, but certainly it's worth getting a clean bill of health on the house and the additional structures if the buyer's wanting to move forward with the process. So if you have any questions, of course, give me a call. As always, I'm giving you my best business practices It's totally up to you and your buyer as to what you decide. If you need any help, just give me a call.